Hey friends, thanks so much for joining me again while we talk about Sawdust Part 2. I got a comment that said, yeah, you said there was tons of uses and then all you did was list like 2 or 3. You're right. You're absolutely correct. So let's get a list going. I found a list and I found it from this website. And so I printed out that list. And here is that list. Screenshot if you want, no pressure, because we're gonna go through it. All right, so you can use sawdust around your plants to repel weeds. You can use sawdust in the pathways between plants. We actually do this in my garden at home. We have some raised beds. We have like some 2x12 and they're straight on the ground. And then we put mulch and sawdust in between to walk on to keep weeds from growing up. Next thing on their list, they say use sawdust to deter slugs. I don't have slugs at my house. I've never known sawdust to do this. They say it works, so I trust them. Mulch with sawdust, we do that. Store root crops in a bucket with sawdust in it. I've done that. Don't do that. Don't do that. I stored radishes in a bucket packed in sawdust, and then I went back in like 4 months and dug them out, and that sawdust had sucked all the moisture out of those radishes, and they were like raisin radishes. There was no moisture in them at all. They were shriveled up to nothing. I would not recommend that one. You can build a scarecrow and stuff it with sawdust. I don't have a scarecrow in my house, but not a bad idea. You can grow mushrooms in sawdust. That is a good idea. If you have a shady area, maybe throw a bunch of sawdust and then get some spores and grow some mushrooms. You can order mushroom starters from this website, and then you can grow them in that sawdust. You can amend the garden soil. So you can test your soil, see what the pH level is, and then put sawdust in it if you need to. Don't overdo it. I use sawdust to compost a lot. I'll compost it with other stuff, with animal manure, so it mixes it up. It's the brown and not the green, because it's been old. It's not freshly cut stuff that I'm using. So when I have freshly cut stuff, like mulch from a chainsaw or stuff, I throw that in a pile and let it sit for quite a while. You can design your gardenway pathway with sawdust and add more as it breaks down and decomposes. Sure, sprinkle sawdust on ice to help avoid falls. It actually provides some grip and it keeps from sliding. I've done that, it works. Use in areas where puddles form. I do this a lot. We have some little dips in our yard where water accumulates and then it gets muddy. My kids play in it, they love it. I don't, so I throw sawdust in it to kind of fill it up and kind of fill that in. We also have kind of a little mud hole, and I throw a bunch of sawdust in that to kind of fill it up and keep it from getting so muddy. You can sprinkle on floors to help absorb moisture and spills. Like I said, I give this to a friend. He uses it for oil dry. I use it for oil dry in my garage when I'm changing oil and stuff. Works well. You can use it as a cat litter. Use it in a rabbit pen. You can use it in a chicken coop. You can use it in a chicken run if they're getting really muddy and stuff. If an area is super muddy and you want to kind of dry it up for them, you can throw it in that area. You can use it as a fire starter. Now, I don't recommend this really fine stuff as fire starter without something else. So you can melt some paraffin wax, or you can melt like maybe something else that's flammable and kind of make it solid, and then you have your own like little fire starter. If you put a wick on there, or if you can just light it and it will light, it's a nice little fire starter for if you want something quick to start a campfire, go camping, or whatnot. You can make your own smoker pellets. Now you'll have to have a machine, I think, to do that, because pellets require a lot of pressure to be formed into those pellets, but it's an option. You can make your own wood filler with it, and I got a video on it right there. You can use it to make wood filler for your wood projects, to fill in. Maybe you have a piece of trim that you have a little gap in there. Get some fine sawdust, some glue, mix it up, press it in there. Just be aware that it dries really hard and you'll have to sand that off. So wipe off anything you don't want on there before it's dry, because it dries really hard. Some people, they say, use it to insulate walls. I don't know about that. You can use it as a tin can, or sorry, as a candle in a tin can with wax and stuff, make it like a long burning candle. I've also heard that sawdust was used back in the Great Depression as like a food additive. Like they added some sawdust to flour to bake bread, and it was a food additive. I'm not gonna go that far. I'm not gonna do that, but it's an option, I suppose. You can also mix it or mulch. You can mulch it and then put it around your trees. I suppose that'll hold moisture. You can make a pin cushion and then stick your needles in there. But after you put the sawdust in there, sharpen your needles and hold your needles. I don't have a pin cushion myself, but not a bad idea. Now here's something that I actually do. I keep a bucket of sawdust in case we were to lose power, in case we were to lose water. Then you can use the restroom in a bucket, throw some sawdust in there, and you don't have to deal with the smell. The waste will, the moisture will be absorbed into that sawdust, and you won't have smell, flies, nothing like that. It's kind of an off-grid toilet system. So I keep a spare bucket in my garage just in case something were to happen like that. And another thing I do with big shavings, if I'm using a block plane and I'm using like cedar or pine, that stuff smells really good. And so I'll kind of keep it in a little bowl, or I'll keep it in a coffee can and stick it in the classroom. And then you smell that cedar or that fresh pine, and it smells really good. So it's kind of an aromatic use also. This stuff, not so much. It's very fine, but more of the bigger shavings, the stuff from a block plane. So those are a few ideas, a few more ideas than what I said before. Like I said, here is the list that I got from that website. I'd recommend going there and checking things out. They have some really good stuff there. And that's all I got, friends. I just thought after I read that comment, you know what? They are absolutely right. I need to provide some more examples. So those are examples you could do with sawdust. Here's my sawdust. I've already told you what I do with it. Thanks for watching.